Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today, I'm going to be talking to Leila Keshavjee. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you
Hey,
did.
right on. Okay, good. So, Leila is the founder of Happy Pops. So, this is a natural fruit stick treat, frozen treat. I don't know. How do you describe it? What do you say when you describe what you guys are doing?
Yeah, it's an all natural. It's an all natural popsicle or ice pop. So yeah, frozen treat, frozen stick treat made with real fruit, all natural ingredients, naturally vegan, gluten free.
It
Better
looks
for you.
absolutely fantastic. And we're filming this right now, which is towards the end of May. So the summer is launched. We've got some nice sunny days, and everybody's going to be reaching for the cold treats. And so you are perfectly positioned for that. And as I understand it, you are now this year, right? This is the launch of Happy Pops in Canada's Wonderland.
It is. It's very exciting. It's been a few weeks, and the park just opened daily this week. So definitely a really exciting time for us. It's a huge milestone. When I started this 6 years ago, I never would have dreamed like, hey, we're going to be on like Canada's largest amusement park as the only frozen stick treat. So it's pretty surreal. Got to see it yesterday myself, and it's cool.
Yeah. And before we hit the record button, you were saying you're walking around and you're seeing all the massive brands like Nestle and Coca-Cola and so on. And here's this locally grown, natural, healthy, very healthy, frozen treat on a stick company, Happy Pops, in and amongst all those massive brands. So for the first time, probably ever, that they've had a local brand like that that's all natural, right?
Yeah, probably. And yeah, it's really like weird and cool. And even when you pull up to the loading dock and you've got like these big like Doritos fully, branded trucks, and then you've got like these Coca-Cola trucks and these big trailers of deliveries, and there's us with like our small our small truck and showing up there, and it's cool. I think it's where Happy Pops belongs. With all the big guys out there, we have a quality, better for you product. But it's I'm just so thankful that Wonderland took a chance on us, and gave us this opportunity this year. Is really cool and really exciting.
Oh yeah, the exposure that you're going to get there is going to be incredible because we're talking probably millions of visitors through there every summer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Okay, so now give us a little bit of a background. You said that you've been operating now for 6 years.
Yeah.
So tell me how this all came about. Why did you start this business? How did it get started? I presume you must have been experimenting, in the farmers markets and stuff initially. Now you're into retail and everywhere, and obviously Canada's Wonderland. So take us back those 6 years and tell us
Yeah.
how it all got going.
Yeah, so I studied kinesiology at U of T. I thought I wanted to do sports medicine precisely. So I'd shadowed everyone in the like all the different sports medicine careers, and I was doing research at hospitals in Toronto, and I had a master's lined up for the fall of 2016, fully funded. And I decided I wanted to take some time off. I'd actually wrote my MCAT because I wanted to do med school, and I took some time off that summer. I was really interested in protein at the time, like protein shakes, protein chips, protein everything. It was 2016, and I was doing kinesiology, and I my dad came across some like popsicle equipment on Kijiji, and I was like, okay, like this looks cool. Maybe I'll do this for a summer. And I got this equipment. I used a small area. He has a food manufacturing company, so I used a small area of this. We got this little machine, and here I was like cutting fruit, juicing this, making these into popsicles, and then packaging them. And the first few weeks, well, the first, you obviously it's always been a lot of work, but the first few weeks I was like, okay, like how am I gonna get the word out about this product? Like who's gonna buy this? It's this time, like end of May 2016. So I'm like 23, just graduating school, and I'm like, I know nothing about running a business, a food business. I don't even know like who do I apply to like to be at an event? Like, how do I make this many? And we started with a local event, and one thing led to a catering company ordering like a couple dozen, and here I was like delivering some of these in my car, and like they were they were so, the orders were so small, that that I was so, we weren't even making money. Like we would have to make more and then just give them out. And then, people would ask us for like different events and we'd give to them. And I think like one thing like just led to another, and just taking on every opportunity. And I tried to not say no to anything, and tried to be wherever I could. Anyone who approached me, tried to do that. And, we started doing farmers markets. And from there, people would say, oh, where can I buy these? And so we did little stickered pouches to some independent stores. We did corporate events, and from there we went on to Dragon's Den.
Yeah. So how long after you started the company that you ended up on Dragon's Den then?
Yeah, so we went on Dragon's Den. I believe it was 2 years after we launched.
Okay. So you had your
20.
processes kind of nailed down, your manufacturing was nailed down, you're ready to kind of take the next level. Is that what motivated you to apply to get on the show?
I've been a Dragon's Den fan ever since I was young. I remember I would do competitive gymnastics, and like I would rush home from practice, and like I was obsessed with Dragon's Den. And I think it's like a Canadian entrepreneur thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the one thing is, I hated public speaking, and like I hated like that kind of stuff. I was never the one like in class to like know my lines and all that. It was something I really struggled with. And so Dragon's Den was like really taking myself out of my comfort zone, but I knew I wanted to do it. So I auditioned and then made the standby list, and then got a call, and then filmed. And then, I didn't end up taking my deal in the end, but it was really early. We went on pretty early in the business, but it's still such a cool thing to have done. And, it made me really put myself out there for the first time. And I think at that moment, it was when I was like, okay, I'm all in to this business, and I'm gonna grow it.
You're the happy pops lady now all of a sudden, right?
Yeah,
Because that's who people would identify you as after being on that show, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't like hide it. Like this is what I'm doing, or this is what I'm building. Like, in the early days, you're like, okay, I'm selling popsicles in Toronto, like where it's not warm for more than like a few months of the year. So, there is that like, people, I definitely think like I was worried, like, what are people going to think? I told people that I want to be a doctor, and now here I am like selling popsicles. But like, once you go on Dragon's Den and this thing airs, you're like, okay, like the whole world knows I'm selling popsicles.
Yeah.
So, you kind of have to own it and just go with it. And I think like that moment, once I'd really put myself out there, it was, again, some opportunities came out of that, but like the confidence just to, get into stores and keep pitching, and like the confidence with pitching, because you're pitching every day as a founder, like multiple times a day. So you just get better and better at it.
Yeah. So tell me about this experience though of turning down the deal, because you were offered a deal on Dragon's Den, which is a dream for so many entrepreneurs, but you walked away from it. So
yeah, I took my deal on air, and then it ultimately fell through in due diligence, but like many other deals do. But it's it happens. Sometimes the timing isn't right and everything just doesn't line up. And I think we were getting into like the beginning of really I would say like our growth phase, and just starting to scratch the surface of launching into grocery, and, giving away that much equity so early in the business would have been a tough move.
Yeah. And that's, I'd imagine, the situation even now, if you get approached, right? It's you're still young enough, small enough where you would have to give up a fair bit of equity to get an investor in. And so that is a tricky thing to explore, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, you want to try and keep it, as much control, I think, and not give up as much equity early on. So you have more options later on. But I mean, it all depends. For everyone, it's different. I think for me, that's the way I've decided to build this, is really bootstrap it, and still to this day. So it definitely shapes the way you make everyday decisions. So for other founders, it's definitely how you want to build your business. But I think like every decision you make is very different, whether you have, a lot more money or you're bootstrapping.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's walk through maybe some of the lessons that you've learned over the last 6 years of bootstrapping this business and growing it to the place where you have it right now. So anything that's happened that is notable that hey, there's a lesson in here that other entrepreneurs maybe need to know about.
Yeah, on Boosh. Yeah, I would say like you definitely want to try and bootstrap your company for the first little while for sure. I think, uh I think, sorry, can you go back, repeat the
Yeah,
question?
not a problem at all. Okay, so I'll just repeat that. So, in terms of 6 years of experience now, there's some lessons that you learn along the way. What are some of the lessons that you could maybe share so that other entrepreneurs can learn something from you and your experiences?
Yeah, I would say it takes time. I think the biggest thing, I would compare myself to other brands, and I actually had like this Instagram account which wasn't my name, and I was like, following so many brands and seeing what everybody was doing, and I think that actually caused me more stress. The moment I was like, this is my story and I'm going to write my own story. I think that's when I realized that it doesn't matter what other people are doing. Competition is good. Everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different amount of capital, and every business requires a different amount of capital to build. And I wouldn't say there's any wrong way, or, you need to compare yourself and things. So, there's two lessons there. Don't compare yourself to other people, but also things take a long time. There's listings that we've been, that have taken us 3 years, and maybe some people get it in a year. But for me, like that wasn't the case for a lot of listings. And, you may see us on shelf now and you're like, oh wow, Happy Pops is in this store or that store. Like I want to, but it's taken us time. It's taken us, multiple rounds of pitching, sometimes different buyers, sending samples across the country and couriering that next day FedEx. Like, there was a lot that goes into these things. And I never realized that in the early days. And I was like, oh, this brand got in here. This is what they're doing. And now I'm just like, you know what? We're going to do what we can afford and what makes sense for our business and just enjoy the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so wise because one of the things that I've discovered over the years that I've been in business is that there is so much opportunity out there and so many, in your case, consumers who are going to consume all sorts of different kinds of treats, right? And so you don't focus so much on what you said, like you said, what other people are doing, as much as focusing on what you're doing and do it as well as you possibly can. That's going to generate the results. And so I echo exactly what you said there. Now, in terms of looking back 6 years ago when you first started, um, with this experience that you have now, if you'd known that then, what would you have done maybe differently in those earlier years of Happy Pops?
Yeah, I would have tried. We didn't put as much energy into like organic social media in the early days. So like,
Mm.
really building up Instagram or, and now I guess the same things like with TikTok. So we're definitely trying to put a little bit more effort into TikTok now, knowing what we know. Uh, the other thing I would say is, probably, um, I would say probably like really talking to more customers. I think we did that like a little bit later, but I think that's like so been so valuable for us is really just like engaging with a lot more people and getting feedback, like and that's really helped us, even shape like our online experience and, understanding what flavors like people want to buy in the grocery store and, then trying to make that happen. Uh, so we actually use something where customers can request stores that they want to be in. And that's been really helpful for us too, to focus our energies on that. So really just trying to bring your customers and your community in with you for that, for the journey.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that that's exactly right. Listening to the customers and letting them help, shape some of the strategy that you're going to deploy and where it is that you're going to tackle your expansion, your growth plans, and maybe product development and so on. So really listening to them and their needs, their wants, because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to satisfy, right? And so I think that's really, really wise. And you must have got a lot of feedback from clients or customers, I mean, in those early days at the farmers markets, right? Because you're getting their immediate reaction to the product.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like what that comes to, even with like, you got to take a lot of things with a grain of salt too, right? Some people might tell you your product's too sweet or too salty. If you have a savory item, too salt, and you got to kind of, so you'll always get those kind of feedback. Not sweet enough, size, different things, And when we started, we had no printed packaging, no printed sticks, and everybody's like, "Oh, you should do this and you should do that." And so sometimes you have to take some of that, but also, yeah, like you said, the farmers markets were we're still doing farmers markets this year because it is so valuable to test new flavors, to really get to know your consumers. And I worked these farmers markets myself, I think for three years, like by myself, loaded my car and did these. And I think it was such a great experience for me. And I think the people I met, like people showed up, they would come and talk to me. They would, have us at events and corporate events, and really the opportunities that came out of that, like everybody knows, someone, and so, and someone who can really help you. And people can be so helpful at, especially at these farmers markets where it's this really nice community and all that. So definitely something that really shaped, where we've been able to go.
So in terms of the growth plans, then, I'm sure you're not satisfied and content with where you're at today.
So
You're wanting to grow this business. And so
yeah.
to get to that next level, whatever that next level looks like, what is it that you're going to have to do? What challenges are you going to have to overcome, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely building, like, building our team, increasing our freezer space, and our probably eventually our production capacity too. But definitely building a bigger team is definitely where we want to, our next up on our list, and keep trying to get into more doors across the country.
Is a strategy a retail expansion predominantly, or is there another channel that you're trying to also grow?
Retail and food service, I would definitely say. And not like, I mean, we're not going to give up our direct to consumer, because with direct to consumer, again, you still get valuable feedback. Your customers, you're engaging with them, and you still have an opportunity to sell them more flavors that right now, we're not getting in the freezer doors. So for us, that's been really big, and, is just being able to put out a lot of variety, which customers enjoy.
Yeah, but also I'd imagine that comes with a bit of a challenge from a production and inventory standpoint as well, right? Because the more flavors you have, the more SKUs you have to manage, and the more inventory you have to have on hand, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess being the manufacturer ourselves, we do have, it does make it a little bit easier versus if we were using a co-packer. But yes, I mean, so for like the summer, we definitely can't have as much variety, so it's more on a rotation. But some of the flavors that we've tested online, we've brought into grocery over the years, and we still have a lot of the independents locally still like to keep a variety of flavors. So for us, the variety definitely keeps people coming back.
Yeah, do you find, like, because I mean, in retail, in the grocery stores, yeah, every, space on the shelf, or in this case in the freezer that you're taking up, is a space that some, other product maybe was in before. You have to displace that. So are you finding that when you're adding more flavors, that they still keep the same number of flavors of yours, and so they just rotate one out and replace it with another flavor of yours? Or are you able to expand the shelf space and gain a greater footprint as well with that added variety?
We've thankfully been able to expand the shelf space in a lot of stores. And I think that's been great for us, because when you have that larger brand block, I feel like the sales, even of, your original three flavors, increases. So like, yes, there's variety, but I've noticed, like, even that going into this summer, over the last few weeks, some stores have added like 2 or 3 more SKUs. And all of a sudden they're buying more, and they're buying more even of the flavors. Like, they're buying the ones that they're launching with, but they're also buying the flavors they were previously buying. And so overall the sales are higher. And especially like right now, so you're delivering, if you're delivering to someone and they're buying $200, they could be buying $400. So for us, I know it's, everybody says, oh, there's a lot, and there's a lot of SKUs, or, there's different rules on, most of your business comes from like 80% of your business comes from 20% of your products or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily being the case for us. I think it's actually the variety, because I think popsicles are, especially when they're fruity flavors, I think people want variety. And I think that's what people like about Happy Pops, is the variety. And so you're eating this treat that's, it's not always the same. You're not eating like a blue raspberry every day, raspberry popsicle every day.
Yeah, definitely. Like as a child, we've all been raised on what is, comparatively a very horrible frozen treat, being Mr. Freezies and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. Everybody had their favorite of all those different flavors, and so the variety was really appealing for sure. Now, and I think what you were saying, I think, is something that I just want to stress for our listeners, because we've experienced this with some of our clients too. And when they have more shelf space, they have more different SKUs or varieties or boxes on that shelf, it ends up being a bigger ad, essentially a bigger display, and so the brand itself gets more noticed. The eye is able to see it more. You get better traction then from the people who would be reaching into or walking past that freezer. And so it is, I think, in food, very important to have as much as you can of that shelf space, because you're just going to elevate then the sales velocity on every one of the items that are there. So good on you guys for being able to do that, because I know the retailers really struggle with that. They really don't like to have too many in, because it's displacing other variety or other brands. And so for you to be able to dominate and get more, as opposed to just having your flavors being rotated through, you actually get a bigger shelf space, which totally benefits your brand. So that's great.
Yeah, it's obviously easier in the independents, but it's definitely a tough world out there. And you said it, like, for us to get in, something else comes off the shelf. And so, it's not an easy place. I feel like there's a lot of pressure also to perform all the time, because those numbers, like someone told me, like the freezer is a buyer in my early days, like told me like the freezer is like prime real estate, and we calculate every like inch of space and what that value is, and like that really stuck with me. And everything we do is like, when we're figuring out our rankings, and and that ranking of SKU ranking can be different for different stores depending on what flavors. Some stores sell other flavors more than others, but yeah, it's like every inch of space is calculated. And freezer is very tough, because you can't add displays like you can, like, we can't just get these cool merchandise, add in something somewhere else. Like the freezer is set, and they can't add more freezer space. Like,
yeah. It's as scarce of a space as you're going to find in any store, I think, right? Like, it's precious.
Yeah. It's prime real estate, but I think our packaging was designed to be very visually appealing and all of that. And, with the lights in the freezer, I think it's, it's designed to look good on shelf.
Yeah. The branding and marketing, design and so on has been really good from what I've seen anyway on your website. So yeah, it's really great.
Thank you.
So I know you're out in Ontario. That's where you're based, and that's where you have most of your distribution. Across the country, where else can people find your product?
Yeah, so on our website, there's actually a store locator, so you can find the closest store to you. But I would say, in Calgary, we're in Centera. In Vancouver, we're in Choices. We're working in larger retailers. In Ontario, we're in Metro, Sobeys, Foodland, Longo's, and a lot of independents like Summerhill, Pizza Terry's.
Excellent.
And a few.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're in the Ontario area, you can order online even as well. Even though it's frozen, you're insulating those packages and getting them out to people. The rest of the country may be a little bit more difficult in that regard. So find your local store by heading over to the website, which is happypops.ca, and you'll find the store locator there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Leila, to explain your journey, share their story. I love the fact that you guys are in Canada's Wonderland. I think it's just going to be such a huge explosion of awareness, which should then pull more product through those stores as people go home after their fun experience at the amusement park and still want to enjoy your treats throughout the rest of the hot summer months. So congratulations on that. That's a huge win.
Thank you. Thank you for chatting, and it's great.
Okay, so for those of you who enjoyed this episode and want to watch some of our other episodes, head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. There you'll find our archive. And if you happen to enjoy these kinds of things more in an audio podcast format, then you can find Amplify Your Business by searching that term on your favorite podcasting platform. So Spotify, iTunes, or whatever it's going to be, you can find us there. So until next time, have a prosperous day. And thank you so much, Leila, again for joining us today.